What's up, you guys? Today we're going to be talking about our finances during this time, during the coronavirus quarantine. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Hey, it's Sean from Gym Class Finance. I am not a financial advisor, just want to make sure everyone knows that. This is really just something that I like to do, something I like to talk about. So please take this as, all my opinion. With that said, if you are new to budgeting or really anything with money, if you're young in high school, if you're in college, if you're older, I'd love to talk to you about it. Talked about where you're at, maybe some of the decisions you're looking to make. With that said, I'm going to take a look at three areas, really three main areas of why I even started this channel in the first place, which are budgeting, side hustle, and investing. So obviously, I'm not just talking about those things just in general. Obviously, our country, our world is going through really a crazy time in our lives. I was just talking to my wife and kind of just sharing with her, what are we going to tell our grandkids 50 years from now, 30 years from now about this time period that we're currently going through? We're just taking it day by day and week by week, and we're all in this together, so we'll get through it together. As I started this channel, I wanted to make sure that I was going to be transparent, make sure that I share as much information as I can. I know some people can be get weird about sharing too much about their finances, and although I'm not going to share, down to the dollar amounts of what we did or the kind of money that we have going to certain areas, I kind of just want to give you a broad view of what it looks like and where we're going, what we're looking at amidst a COVID-19 outbreak, which is what our country is currently going through and fighting with and working through. So the channel is called Gym Class Finance, and so if you haven't figured it out, I am a gym teacher. That's my career. This is kind of just my side thing that I like to do, I like to talk about. Obviously, I'm not going into a physical building, and I haven't been in there in the last week, not going next week, and really we'll see what happens. I'm sure we'll be getting an email with an update, and so I am still getting paid. Luckily, I'm very thankful for that. But I do realize that there are a lot of people who are out of jobs right now. They're out of the income that they normally expect, and there's really just that uncertainty of if they're going to get their job back. I know I was reading something that it's a really sad news that a lot of these small businesses in the big cities are closed right now. They may not ever open up, which is just open back up when all this clears, just because of the financial hit that they take. I'm hoping that's not the case, but I think it's a reality that many of these small businesses are going to be facing. So let's first get into our side hustles. I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time talking about them, but given these circumstances, yes, it has taken a little bit of a toll on our side hustles. I'm always encouraging people to look at ways they can create some extra side hustle income. And, obviously with things being closed, there's no tutoring happening. None of my extra school duties are happening where I bring in extra money. We buy and resell clothes, and obviously we're not able to go anywhere to buy those clothes. Luckily, we're still able to ship stuff out if things would sell. But luckily we do have some things in stock. I'm actually going to be looking into seeing if I can sell any sports cards. I actually got a couple sports cards not too long ago, actually last year, and haven't really tried to flip them. I'm going to try to flip them. I know my wife doesn't think I can do it, but I'm gonna prove her wrong. So just kind of looking for new ideas or new things, new ways that you can make some extra income, especially if you find yourself unemployed or kind of like taking a break from whatever employment you were in, and you don't really know where you're going next, unfortunately. With that said, I do just want to encourage everybody to look for areas or ways that they or you can, help others. Whether you have your normal income or not, whether there's certain areas that you can maybe give to others financially, or just helping others who are less fortunate in non-monetary ways of helping. So I think this is just an important time. And if you can just be on the lookout for ways that you can just help people. So moving away from side hustles and kind of now spending a little time talking about budgeting, which, as I have said, I am going to be doing a lot more, going very specific with budgeting, kind of sharing the Excel tool that I use. Not saying that that's what everyone should use, but just to kind of give you a little insight on that. But to put it in general, put it into three ways. I like to talk about spending some, giving some, and saving some. And so let's kind of just take that and look a little deeper into what that means. As I mentioned before, there's not a better time than to be looking to help others out. So when we're talking about giving some, things that you can do or give in your community, if you go to a church or tithe, which we do, that's something that's part of the regular rhythm of our budget, and it's just something that's part of our life. Breaking it down to saving some, I just recently had a couple posts on Instagram about sinking funds. I'm going to continue to talk about those, which are it's just giving money on assignment and saving it towards a goal. Not necessarily something that you're, is just part of your regular monthly habits, but saving for something, maybe a car, which in our example, that's one of our sinking funds. It might be your life insurance because it's a 1-year payment that you have, which I think usually we pay ours around October or November. Looking ahead to those things. And with that said, we are not going to be putting anything in the car fund real soon. I think we're going to be focusing more house, but there also are some other smaller sinking funds that we're going to be looking to put money into if we can, continue to find the money. We have a tax return coming, so kind of figure that out. And obviously the stimulus that's being talked about. I know the specifics aren't specific. We don't know exactly what's going to be voted on or what's going to be approved, but there are a lot of talks about what that kind of extra income could be coming here in the near future. The third category when it comes to budgeting is your spending. Obviously, this is referring to what you spend, your normal habits, your regular bills, your utilities that you pay each month, going out to eat. Obviously, you're not going out to eat as much, but your groceries. All of these are what would be considered under your spending categories. As I've said, I will be sharing specifically what those categories are later this week. But in regards to spending, I don't think it's really changed for us a whole lot. We're going to continue to stick to our budget. We don't have to necessarily cut back, although we're not going to be going out and doing anything really extra. So I think that we're going to actually see some, over the next couple weeks, I think we're going to see our budget as a whole, we're going to be saving some money and maybe not have to put as much into our budget, or be able to help our sinking funds as long as our income and side hustles continue to at least generate a little bit of extra money. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I think some of these common themes that I try to stress and talk about to people continue to just come up. And once again, it's that emergency fund. I spent a lot of time talking about that earlier, and it's times like these where having an emergency fund are key. 3 to 6 months, I know that can seem terrible, and very hard to do, and if you don't have an emergency fund set up right now, Right now, it's going to be a struggle, maybe, especially if your regular income has changed a little bit. But just to be thinking about how can you reach your goals, how can you get to saving enough so that you do have 3 to 6 months set aside for things like this, the unexpected, so that when these emergencies do come, they're not necessarily an emergency, they're an inconvenience, but they're not necessarily like life-altering, changing emergencies. The last piece that I want to talk about in regards to coronavirus and our finances is our investing and our investment portfolios. I like to share our car fund, or our car sinking fund, you can also call it, which I have invested. As I've stated before, it's not the greatest way to save for something, so I'm not telling you that's what you should do, because anytime you're investing, you have to expect that it will go down. Obviously, these are different circumstances, but obviously that account has gone down. Luckily, we're in the early stages of saving for a car, so it's not like it got hit terribly. I had $20,000 in there and it got hit. It was more like 3,000 or 4,000. I forget what it's at. It's dropped about 1,000. But so just kind of trying to find whether we should start to move to cash, or let it ride here a little bit and maybe throw a little bit more to dollar cost average, as I've talked about before in another video, where you're lowering the amount that you paid for each stock. So if, for example, if I paid $10 for a stock and it dropped to $5, I buy another share. Now my dollar cost average would be $7.50. So just looking at it from that perspective, I'm not really that concerned about it. And when we're looking at our Roth IRAs, obviously those got hit really hard, but I'm at a young enough stage of life that, I'm not close to retirement. I'm viewing it as obviously not a good thing, but as things get better and you start to see some good signs, then eventually, adding to that IRA portfolio, and you're able to buy more shares of whatever equity you might have in your Roth IRA. And since we are talking about our Roth IRA, which I'm going to talk more about, maybe do a video or do some more education on, we did actually use a little bit of money and add to it this past week, because we haven't met our 2019 contributions, which you have until tax day. And I'm not sure if that's with tax day extended. I'm not sure if that means we have longer to contribute. I kind of doubt it, but we still have some room there. So I'm going to kind of just keep an eye on the market, and if there's a buying opportunity and I have some cash available over the next month, then I may look to add a little bit more for our 2019 contributions there. We decided not to do anything as of now with our child's 529 plan. We're just going to let that sit. That also took a hit. I mean, everything essentially took a hit with this. So once again, I'm not that worried. Our daughter's almost 3. We have some time to hopefully build that account up. And so if we are able to buy throughout the year, great, because it's at a nice price right now. But if not, that's okay too. As I've shared in the past, we are looking at houses. We're content where we're at, but space, can be somewhat of an issue living in a condo. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Is I don't want to be putting too much of the cash that we do have in the markets, just with the uncertainty, and being able to have it available if we do want to put a down payment on a house. So we're going to continue to save as much as we can, endorsing our house sinking fund in cash, and just hope that the market recovers, and go from there. This stimulus deal that hasn't been hammered out yet, there's a lot of rumors, there's different There's different things that have been laid out. It'll be interesting to see. I think we're supposed to get word on that possibly on Sunday, and it could be, you know, everything laid out and finalized sometime this week on the stimulus deal. So that could definitely impact everybody, and could be very helpful, especially to people who you know, don't quite have the normal income that they did up until a couple weeks ago. So that's all I have for you today. Once again, I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate anytime you like these videos, subscribe. It really does help. And remember, it's that simple. I'll see you next time.